A few months ago, Dr. Phil, the not political at all Dr. Phil, harassed me, bullied me, tried to have one of my videos taken down because I criticized him. And so it brings me much joy to give as good as I'm getting from this hayseed. Do you remember when he went on and was interviewed by David Pakman and he declared himself, I'm the farthest thing from political you can imagine. I'm not a conservative, herk-a-dirk. Remember this, and then we'll move on with his fascist enablement of Donald Trump.
You know, I'm very interested to speak to you today because in preparation for our interview, I've been watching some of the Fox News appearances, looking at the book, etc. I never really saw you as a guy who delved into political issues per se. You seem more willing, interested, and I must say, maybe more conservative than I thought you were. Is that a fair assessment?
Not at all.
Okay.
Because I am so not political, you can't even believe it. And I'll tell you why. I know nothing about politics. And I know why you say that. It sounds like it.
Right.
I talk about these things as cultural issues from a psychological, psychosocial standpoint, how they affect families and people. And they do overlap with some of the things that politicians talk about, but they talk about it from a political standpoint, funding standpoint, how they can get this bill or that bill through, couldn't care less. But I am interested in those issues in terms of how they impact families in their day-to-day pursuit of life and peace and being able to raise their family in a healthy environment. So there's a lot of overlap, but I don't talk about it from a political standpoint because I frankly don't know enough about the politics of it all.
I'm
just willing to admit that. I'm just willing to admit it. I don't think a lot of other people know either. I'm just willing to admit it.
So that guy, Mr. Not Political at all, almost with a mocking tone, a dismissive tone to David about how he's just so not political, tweeted this after all of the interviews he's done with Donald Trump and normalizing, legitimizing of Donald Trump. He tweeted this: Dr. Phil is embedded with real Tom Homan for ICE operation in Chicago for full live coverage of the mass deportation operation. Download the Merit TV app along with a video. Now, I'm going to play the video. We're going to talk about the contents therein. But this is amazing. What a turnaround for a guy who was not political at all to now accompanying the border czar. The fascist enabler is now riding with the fascist who is implementing the fascist leader's mass deportation order while justifying it in the video you're getting ready to watch. Watch this helper, healer, Dr. Phil, not a real doctor, but someone who is used to be licensed to give therapy and aid psychologically to people, to heal people of their afflictions and their anxieties and the traumas that they may have suffered in their pasts. That same guy is now embedded with the mass deportation operation. Watch this.
Well, we just arrived in Chicago, and I'm getting ready to meet with Tom Homan, and we're going to brief what's happening tomorrow, what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, go over all the security protocol, because it's a pretty high-risk mission that we're going on. This truly is a targeted ICE mission because they're not sweeping neighborhoods like people are trying to imply. I know that because I've been involved in this heading into this. They've identified 270 high-value targets. And what I mean by that is these are known criminals and terrorists. We're talking about murderers, child traffickers, child rapists. We're talking about bad actors, both in the countries they've come from and since they've been here in the United States. Some of these people have 12, 15 arrests, indictments, some convictions in their home countries and here, but yet they're on the streets. And that's who ICE is targeting to bring out of these communities. So we're going after specific targets, not just sweeping neighborhoods and picking up anyone with a tan, anyone that looks like they don't belong here. Anybody belongs here. One thing I've learned about Tom Homan since I've come to know him, but he's got 3 objectives. 1, close the border, get it under control. 2, get the criminals, the dangerous people out of the communities and off the street. And 3, rescue these missing children. There are over 300,000 missing children. Some of them may be with family, that's fine. Let's identify that. Some of them have been trafficked into sweatshops, prostitution, really bad outcomes for these children. So those are the 3 objectives. And this one that we're working on starting in just a few hours is to get these bad actors off the street, these known violent criminals out of the community. How could anybody disagree with that?
We can disagree because you're a liar, Dr. Phil. You are an insidious justifier of a human rights abuse. That's what you are. You're a clout-chasing attention seeker, Dr. Phil. We'll just take a couple of the things you're talking about and then refute them with facts that have already happened since Donald Trump has initiated this human rights abuse. You say, it's a pretty high-risk mission. What a brave man you are, Dr. Phil, a physical coward, Dr. Phil. It's super high risk, y'all. Gonna be out there with Tom Homan, rounding up the criminals and the terrorists. Identified criminals and terrorists in this not sweeping neighborhoods raid. So what happened in Newark? Dr. Phil, what happened in Newark when a United States citizen, military veteran, was detained by ICE? His documentation not believed. And why? Because he's Puerto Rican. Somebody who looked like me that was detained by immigration and customs enforcement. It was a United States citizen, Dr. Phil. As you justify the raids you're getting ready to go on. Liar, coward, clout chaser, attention seeker, Trump ass licker is what you are. You're an exploiter of the human condition with your stupid show where you exploited people suffering from substance use disorder, juvenile delinquents, poor people, people who are afflicted with mental illness. You exploited them. You harmed them. And now the harm parade continues as you accompany ICE on their mass deportation efforts. Sickening. And it is not targeted. ICE plans to go into hospitals, churches, schools. And if you don't believe me, you don't have to believe me or the hayseed Dr. Phil. You can believe Tom Homan. The border czar himself said so yesterday on This Week with Martha Raddatz.
I want to go back to who you're deporting. Aside from the long list of executive actions, the administration said it will no longer tell ICE agents they have to avoid sensitive locations, including schools, hospitals, churches. Benjamin Huffman, the acting Homeland Security Secretary, said in a statement, criminals will no longer be able to hide in America's schools and churches to avoid arrest. What criminals are hiding in schools?
Look,
middle schools, elementary schools. You going to go into those?
How many MS-13 members are the age of 14 to 17? Many of them. So, look, if it's a national security threat, public safety threat, and what you need to understand is a case by case. Name another agency, another law enforcement agency that has those type of requirements that they can't walk into a school or a doctor's office or on a medical campus. No other agencies held to those standards. These are well-trained officers with a lot of discretion, and when it comes to sensitive location, there's still going to be supervisory review. So it's not like it's an open issue, but ICE officers should have discretion to decide if a national security threat or a public safety threat is in one of these facilities, then there should be an option for them to make the arrest.
But someday you could go into those schools and grab people who are just in the country illegally.
On a case-by-case basis, depending who they are, what the circumstances are.
Do not believe the narrative that these people peddle. It is lies, it is propaganda, it is disinformation and misinformation. And they're not just using marble mouth fumble mutts like Tom Homan. They're also using the platform and popularity of the mustache with a face around it, Dr. Phil. Liars using propaganda to sell a human rights abuse, an economy destroying operation. Families will be torn apart. What do you have to say about that, Dr. Phil? You're there for it. You're literally there for it. Broadcasting live. Download the Merit TV app. Sickening. Fascist. I welcome you to this conversation. Click below, leave a comment. That helps the algorithm in the battle against the algorithm that I'm constantly on, whether it be battling idiots like Dr. Phil trying to have videos taken down or just against YouTube generally. Comment below. That would help very much. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. Of course, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. Please consider supporting this work, helping produce these videos, helping me reach the people with this message. $1.99 a month is all it takes. Click the join button, become a channel member. Go to my Patreon page, patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast. I'm on social media. If you have things to say there, I shudder the thought. I am at Dollemore, and I would love to see you there. Be genuine. Be genuine. Take care of one another.